transition over. I hope you're all doing a great today. It does feel a little bit odd doing this stream on Tuesday instead of Monday or Wednesday, which is my normal day, but it is good to be here. Okay, so I wanted to go over what I've been working on in the past couple of let's see, it's pretty much only this past weekend that I decided to do it a couple weeks ago, and then I built the thing last weekend. So this BB GGEZ. So I guess I'm going to start with a code of conduct. So I'm going to actually put a. So where is the thing? I need to get my phone for this. I'm going to open up Twitch and put a, what is it, like a breakpoint? A stream marker in here. That way I can record this, break it out as a separate video, and that'll be that. So stream marker name, code of conduct. All right, so the reason why I decided to make a code of conduct is if I am going to be having some more of like these community type things, then I feel that it would be good to have some like guidelines for what I feel is appropriate and why like I might time out or ban some people, which I have done in chat in the past. And so I figured maybe having like the actual rules there to point to say like, hey, this is how I make those decisions. And also this is how to contact me in case like somebody else is harassing you or something bad. So I made this to cover, YouTube, Twitch, and GitHub, and I can add in any other services or anything else that I add in later. But basically, if you need to get a hold of me to like send me a private message, currently I'm going to be the only code of conduct enforcer, as it were. And that's only because I don't really have any like strict mods that always show up and do that kind of thing. If I get new mods, I will add them to this list. But for right now, you can whisper me on twitch.tv, or you could direct message me on Twitter, or you could direct message me on Discord. I'm usually paying attention to all three of those services, so it's pretty easy to get in contact with me there. And then I have a list of like why you might be timed out, why you might be banned if something were to happen here. I think that these should be pretty self-obvious. Like generally, the idea is be excellent to each other. I've seen on some other people's streams commenters basically acting out and then not receiving a ban, and it affected everyone else who was watching. And there were some people that were joking around about it, but I think it may have actually hurt some people who maybe were lurking, maybe would have commented, but just sort of didn't feel like it after that. So I do want to like make sure that I have a more open, sort of more open and safe space for everyone to be here. And the reason for all that is because I want to encourage a culture of error and a growth mindset. So I actually added these two in here because these are really important to me. So a culture of error it's specifically where we're allowed to make mistakes. And because we're allowed to make mistakes, that's how we grow and we learn and we get better. And a growth mindset is very similar. It goes right alongside with culture of error. it's all about knowing and understanding that people can change. Uh, I mean, usually we hope to change for the better. Of course, we could change, in a negative direction, but we want to, like, if somebody does something, like let's say they fail at some kind of like work project, that doesn't mean that they're always will fail at that work project. They can spend a lot of hard work, a little bit of time, some studying up, and then they can succeed later. And my point of all of this is we fail so that we can later not fail. Anyways, so that's the code of conduct, and that's what I've got listed everywhere. And I'm going to put a link, like I'm going to put that on YouTube, put a link into here, and maybe some other projects if necessary too, so that way it can be like a quick description of that. Now the other side of things, and what I'm doing this for today, is I created a project so that we can all participate in Hacktoberfest together. Although I guess it will be less for me because I still need to get 4 pull requests in to get this limited edition t-shirt. And it's hard to see, but I am wearing the last year's t-shirt, which I think it was 5 pull requests last year, but DigitalOcean ended up with a whole bunch of extra t-shirts that they didn't give away. So I think they reduced it to 4 just because of that. So I was going to begin hacking. Sign up for this myself. You sign up with GitHub. Nope, I don't need to be. I already have this from last year, so start hacking. And I recommend everyone do this. Even if you're not really like fully participating and you're not expecting to be able to get the t-shirt, you might as well sign up because it tracks all of the pull requests that you've done after this. And if they're pull requests to public repositories, you'll get credit. And all you need is 4, and then you'll be sent a link to a form to fill out of like your address and what size t-shirt you want and what like style you want it to be in, and then they'll send it to you. So I don't know if there's anything in here that we really care about. Yeah, so this just basically lists all the pull requests that you're going to have come in here yet. Finding projects with for pull requests is actually part of the challenge for here. Especially if you're new to open source development, you may not have a project. Chantilly, good morning. Welcome to the stream. They do have a bunch of projects down here that they sort of recommend that you can look into. And what's really cool is that if we go and just grab one of these, let's take a look at Reactive UI. Inside of issues, oh, I'm not seeing, okay. So I'm not seeing any there. Sometimes repositories, maybe it'll be browse more. These are all just, okay, label Hacktoberfest. So a bunch of these will actually have labels. So this first one, for example, has a label of Hacktoberfest. That makes it a little bit easy to find, and this is really the repository maintainer saying, "Hey, I want you to help out with this." So they labeled that. It's not necessary. Last year I did some pull requests to open source repositories that did not have the Hacktoberfest label, and I still got my shirt for that. So I don't think that matters at all. Which brings me to my project. So I've been doing a lot of Rust and GGEZ programming recently, specifically with the Nature of Code series in the morning. And yesterday I decided, I used this library, which I have pushed out, so we can actually find this on crates.io. Now currently I have it as version 0.0.0 because I've only pushed up one thing in here. But specifically, this is going to be a community crate or library if you're not familiar with Rust that I'm going to be using during those streams, and hopefully reduce a little bit of the code, like the extraneous code that we have to use. For example, rand, the crate for generating random numbers, isn't implemented into core Rust. So I have to pull that in every single time that I create a GGEZ project. We can put all the stuff that would do randomized, things into this crate. Miguel, good morning. Hey, hey. So I thought, what better way to release this than today on Hacktoberfest Day? Or rather, the first day of Hacktoberfest month. So I have a bunch of, I tried to make good instructions for like contributing and how to like, what to do, like what things that would be really awesome to be able to do with this. I haven't created any issues for it. It's still really brand new. Also, I haven't really done a open source project before that people are making pull requests to. So this is going to be new to me as well. At the same time, I haven't created a library for Rust either, so I have no idea if I did it correctly. Yesterday, I was able to use it, and it seemed to work just fine. There was no I didn't have to go and make any changes to the library just to be able to use it. But all right, what are I guess let's take a look at what's the first thing that we have in here. So in the documentation for this, I'm actually, don't they have auto docs for these? I put doc comments in here, but oh, it looks like you need to generate it. That makes me feel okay. Well, clearly that's going to be our first issue, so I'm going to add that in myself. So create docs for GGEZ on crates.io. I don't have any templates for the issues or the pull requests at this time. I don't know how popular this is going to get. I'm figuring it's going to be about as popular as how many of you are following me, and that I think that's going to be manageable. I'm planning on going through these over streams so I can ask more clarifying questions and maybe link to timestamps, and then you can respond if I don't know exactly what an issue is or why a pull request was done. But besides that, I think we'd sort of go through and learn this together. So currently the crates.io page the docs are generated from the code comments, doc strings, and such, right? That's what I thought. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is a documentation page for it. So currently a docs page, the crates.io page doesn't have a link to the documentation. We should figure out how to generate the docs website and add a link. And so that is here. Yeah, and if we take a look at what I've got code-wise, so I actually have the code open, so that will be a little bit easier to see. In the main library here, I do have some of these doc comments. And so these should be creating those. And I think I even went into target, went into doc. So I did cargo doc, which then compiles all of the documentation. And for GGEZ, we can open containing folder. Oh, that's the wrong one. I want to open you Chromium. So the documentation was created here. We can see this utility main struct and then the doc comments that I created. I'm not exactly sure how to get the comments, because I see a lot of crates that have comments on this front page here. So I'm not exactly sure how to get those. But we have one function in the utility class, and that's a random bright color. So it generates a random bright color for us, and I did put a comment in here that basically that just means that in the U8 range, that's a minimum of 200 and 255, or rather 254 is the max. And so there's a ton of room for other things that we can do here. So we could add, if you want to use this crate, then absolutely feel free. And then anything that you'd want to have access to it, either this is like an and or, you can create an issue and somebody will hopefully work on it. I will probably even work on these myself. You can also just do the pull request. That being said, if you do that, there's a chance that you might have rework. And what I mean by that is if somebody else might have the same issue that they want to fix. And so that both of you might end up doing a pull request for it. I think what I'm going to do is just the first pull request that comes in that seems like it actually does the right thing and is tested. That's the one I'll probably pull in. If you create an issue for it though, and then say, hey, I'm working on this, then that's the one I'll pull in, because that's the one that they'll actually state, hey, I'm doing this. I think I have that listed out here in the contributing guide, which is write a comment stating that you're going to be working on this issue. Now we take a look at our code here. We actually can see, you can actually just go into the real code. All I'm doing right now is I'm creating a utility structure. I'm storing RNG sort of like permanently in here. And then I'm just adding functions. And this is tested too. A random bright color is a little bit interesting to test. I don't know if these tests are actually appropriate or like perfect. So if there's a better way to test this and you can figure that out, please feel free to like add an issue in here and do that. But I figure that we can all get our t-shirts. And if you feel like if you want to get your t-shirt through this project, then I would be very happy to do that. Another thing about Hacktoberfest is your pull request does not need to be accepted for you to get the t-shirt. They understand that maintainers are going to be super busy and overwhelmed and not necessarily be able to get back to the pull request in time. And so all you need to do is open the pull request, and then it counts. So that makes it super, super, super easy. So what things should we add to our project? So I'm thinking mainly, what issues should we add in for people, for you all, us all, to work on? Thinking maybe like random dark colors. Okay, so I'll submit that issue. Was there anything else that that I needed yesterday? We can actually look through we could look through yesterday's code because I have it just in here, including friction. And here's where I actually stored. So I'm bringing in utility. And just storing it in here permanently. It does need to be mutable. And it needs to be mutable because RNG from Rand, that needs to be mutable. And I'm using it right here to just generate a brand new color. I mean, maybe something like, I don't know if we want to like handle screen size, handle like the Windows screen size change, but a trait might be interesting. So like adding in a trait for the main game object that sort of like tells you what this function should be. We also know exactly what it needs to take in. The context, the width and height tuple, and what it needs to return. I believe you have created certain functions over and over for GGEZ, but you can't remember. I know, it's so interesting that when we write them, we're like, oh man, this is like, I've written this so many times, but then afterwards, I've like just sort of put it out of my memory. It's very interesting how the mind works like that. Now the like things like apply force, like the I think these would be traits. Like we could have a trait for certain types of walkers or balls or whatever, like players, however we want to call that. And there is a in GGEZ. I chose that name because I wanted it to be short, but also like not, I mean, be kind of descriptive. So I don't know if we decide to change the name to like make it better. I am potentially open to that possibility. But if I cd into bbggez, I do have an example in here. So if we take a look at examples, it's just the random bright color. And the way you run this is once you pull this code down, you can do cargo run -- example, and then the name of the example. And we can see this one being used here. So getting the example to like actually writing the example wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. All I needed to do was create this examples folder, which of course now that it's here, you can just add your code in. I couldn't figure out a way to do a folder inside of examples and then do a full proper application with like a library and a main.rs file. It ends up just being a single file that holds everything. So the entire game, so my main.js or my main function, my implementing the event handler for the game struct, and of course the code for using the features that I added in, they're all in this one file. And then you can automatically just call cargo run example and then the name of this file. What you do have to do is you have to use extern crate here to get access to the main library, and that's the only like craziness that you have to do. Besides that, it's pretty simple. Let's see if there's any other things we can think of. We can take a look at, I want to see where GGEZ's crates are, like its documentation. So it has documentation here, and it's just docs.rs/GGEZ and like 051. If I just go to that, okay, so I still get to the latest here. What if I go to, oh, interesting. So it did auto-generate the docs, and they're hosted on docs.rs for us, but we don't have a link to it. So crates doesn't actually automatically put that in. So let's fix that. So I'm going to come back to here, update this issue. I found that the docs are auto So then the last thing that we need to figure out is, how do we make that change? How do we tell it? I'm betting it's going to be something in the crates.toml file. So a pull request to basically add in a link to the docs in there. And then I would bump the version and then redeploy it. I don't currently have anything on there right now for like auto deploy. I don't have a Circle CI or anything to like do the testing automatically either. Those things would probably be good for me to do. And I'm thinking that those would be issues that I could add in. So let's see. Set up a, what is it? CI CD platform for testing and deploying. Let's see. We're testing and deploying the code, I guess the library, when merged into master. Wait, that's a new comment. I don't want that. I want a new issue. So that's something I would have to do, but potentially we could have a discussion about which CI/CD platform to use, because I don't know which ones work best with Rust, for example. Setting up the deployment would be pretty easy. We just have to use like a crates or cargo login, and then you don't even hand it a username and password, you hand it an API key. And that could be pretty easy to put into a CI/CD platform. But I would need to set up a way to keep that hidden so that people can't just go and look and like, see what the API key is and then start deploying packages under my name. Also, we need to figure out how to auto bump the how to properly bump the version number. I guess right now we might just rely upon that's just a code change that happens with the pull request. But yeah, I'll have to think about like how I want to do that too. I'm curious, for those of you watching, how many of you have done a pull request before? So apparently that means continuous integration, continuous distribution. But what does it mean? What does it provide exactly? Okay, so CI/CD is pretty cool when it's set up properly. So the continuous integration part, we can think about this as whenever anybody creates a pull request, then it like this third-party tool will kick up, it'll clone down the code, and it will run all the tests and automatically, and then give you a report. Did the test pass or not? And so that's the continuous integration part. That's letting you know, hey, you're everything is working just fine still. And then you can also hook up the delivery automatically and say, well, hey, if you trust the tests, as soon as something gets merged into master and the tests all pass, just go ahead and auto deploy it. So it just continuously deploys and you don't have to do anything. So it is pretty awesome for that. All right, let's see if we can do, what's an issue we can work on together? We can do this and red and dark colors. I'll do this one and I'll show you how the pull requests work. So I'm gonna take this. I'll add this. So I'm just putting a little comment saying, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and work on this one. That way anybody else who sees this knows that they're working on it. I could even assign myself or be assigned to that. The reason you might want to do this is then your picture shows up under assignee. That's less important. It's more important to like actually put in the note. Now I'm going to actually do the proper way here. So I'm in Brooks Build's organization. I'm going to fork into my own personal account here. Oh, Chantilly, you've done a pull request in JavaScript. There's not really a big difference in languages. It's the process is the same. So I've now forked this repo, and I can now clone it down to my local system. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see, go to code, go to mine, git clone this down. and open up GGEZ. Now I have 2 copies of this code locally. Now, what I don't have, so I'm gonna make this bigger, open up our terminal here. None of the things are working here. So what I can do is, and I just recommend this for any open source project you run, I'm just gonna cargo test immediately. So if you're doing this in JavaScript or TypeScript, or it doesn't really matter what language it is, if there's tests in the repo, I highly recommend creating the tests like running the tests right away. And the main reason is if you do a bunch of code and then the tests fail, and they were failing beforehand, you can go down this really crazy rabbit hole thinking that it was your code when it really just is the project wasn't working properly, and somebody pushed up code that broke the test and nobody noticed. So I can actually connect in our Twitch highlighter. I've got that now running on both of these. I don't know how that's going to work. It's going to be interesting. All right, we're finally on to compiling the main BBGGEZ crate. And we'll see 1 passed, 0 failed. So everything is looking good. I don't have any doc tests, so it's not running those. So let's go ahead and add in our code change. So we want to make it so that utility has random bright colors. Now I don't know what the best way to organize all this code is. I have everything in just this this utility right here. What I'm thinking is I'm going to do this test-driven development. It's okay not to do that too. So add in a test. So this will be creates a random dark color, and we're going to say, okay, so let utility, so we're going to grab that in first. Then we're going to grab the color. So I'm going to pretend that it exists right now. So random dark color. And now I can write my asserts. So I'm going to assert that the color dot red. So the red color is going to be less than. So I sort of guessed at what these were going to be. I think that I can just use the. I think that I just want these to be like less than probably 0.5. I'm going to say less than 0.5. And obviously greater than 0. And I'm going to replicate this for, let's see, so we got the, oh no, I didn't want that, .r. So I want this to be .rg, so g, blue, and alpha. Alpha, clearly, we can do assert equal. Color.alpha should really be equal to 1.0. I'm just making these like fully alpha. I guess opaque would be the more appropriate term for this. Now, if I save this, we can see right away this is not working because there's no method for it. So now, of course, I could just write the random dark color here. I can also do, if you're got a more complicated feature that you're working on, you can do something called bare minimum coding or hostile developer. And that means write the bare minimum of code to get the errors to stop. And then as soon as all the errors go away, you're done. So it's just telling me that there's no function random dark color. So let's just create that. So random dark color. And there. Save. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so now it's telling me I'm missing the self parameter. So let's add that in. And that makes that error go away, but now it's saying, hey, you didn't, it returned just nothing. So now it's not assuming that there's this color.red. So that means I need to return a color. And so now this is erroring, saying, hey, you're not actually returning a color. Well, let's go ahead and just return a new empty color. And if I just say like 0.0, so everything passes. And so we can actually run this code, cargo test again. And it's all going to pass because, oh no, so it failed. The alpha is incorrect. So we expected that the alpha would be 1.0. So we can make this 1.0. Now this is an empty, like this is a black color. This won't actually do what we want it to do. But unfortunately the test will pass. And I realize that I have the same problem with these other asserts, is that I could write the code otherwise and it will pass. Let's see, now what is it telling? Creates a random color. Oh, creates a random color failed. Assertion failed. Color dot b is greater. Okay, so this is, oh, it's not telling me what like the value was. It just told me what the assertion that failed was. That's a little bit sad that it didn't tell me. Now it's possible I sort of made up the numbers for like 0.7 because I'm using RGB here for this. It probably would be better for me to just do new here. And change that. But this is, I'm betting that if I just rerun these tests, it will succeed this time. So that's another issue to add in. So I'm going to add this as an issue. Let's go to the original host one and we'll say test for create random bright color fails sometimes. The tests fail sometimes because the color is not always greater than 7. We should switch to using 0, 0 through 1.0 for the for generating the color. To ensure that we are in the same range. So there's that. That's also a good one to take on because that's just updating a test. So there's that. And then for this one, I realized that, well, I have this color and we were trying to like determine, is it less than this? And if it's greater than that, that's all great. But I also want to make sure that it's not the same as the previous one. Because right now we're just sort of doing this. This is the hostile developer part. I did the bare minimum and that wasn't necessarily what I wanted it to do. So let's try doing this again. So that another color. And I also want to assert that they're not equal. Now, there is a very small chance that they will be equal to each other. And I could probably do something, I could probably do some kind of like statistical test where I like do 10 of them and make sure that like at least a couple of them are different. If I do this, I just want to make sure that they're not all exactly the same. So I'm going to assert. And so this is going to be a little bit, this is going to be a more complex one. So I'm going to say color.r is not exactly equal to another color .r. Maybe random isn't what you want if you want more specific distribution. Maybe. And that's an idea that we could also add in. Also, good morning, Danny. And so I want to replicate this. So I don't need the alpha to be tested. This is going to be dot green and dot blue. You're writing postcards as you watch. Is it for voting? Because it's coming up to voting time. And so let's run these tests. These should fail. And they fail because they fail at this panic assertions. They're all the same. They're all the same, of course, because we're just always returning 0.00.0. So at this point in time, let's use our RNG. So I'm going to say for you, we're going to do self.rng dot gen range. And we're going to go from 0.0 to 0.5. And we should probably really do 0.6 because it's not inclusive. Yeah, vote for Tate Anderson for Denver School Board at Large. Awesome. I haven't been receiving too many of those yet, but I figure the closer we get to voting day, the more of those postcards we're going to get. I haven't even received my ballot yet. Okay, so I'm just going to return this, and it's should be completely different numbers. And let's run the test again. Failed. Okay, so what happened? I think, oh, so now it failed 2 different times. It asserted that so the green color and the red color were not within the limits. And it looks like the red color in the first test, so greater than or equal to 0.7. So that's that one we saw earlier. But then our tests, so I'm thinking that the 0.6 is, I probably want 0.51. Cowtel, good morning. Vote for whoever will advocate more pizza days at lunch. That's certainly an option. I don't have any kids, so I have a lot less skin in the game for school. But I usually ask my friends who actually have more. It will affect them more who they really want to be in there, and then sort of vote for them. Okay, so I have that. Let's now try cargo test here. All the tests pass. So the feature has been written, but then the last thing we want to do, and I'm going to go ahead and just to show off something, I'm going to add in a commit for this. So created feature. Tests are sometimes failing for the random bright color, which is unrelated. So I want to create an example now. So I'm going to come to our examples. I'm actually just going to copy that and create a new one that's almost exactly like it. So I'm going to cd into examples. I'm going to copy random bright colors to random dark color.rs. This create layout looks perfect, does it? I mean, it's like the first one that I've ever made that's actually being deployed to create, so I have no idea. So once it's in here, I'm just going to update this to now like show off the like how to write the code for dark color. So basically it's going to be exactly the same because it's just dark color instead of bright color. So I'm going to change this to a random dark color here. And then I'm also changing every 1,000 seconds so you can see it rerunning over and over again. So we're going to do random dark color again there. Everything else should be exactly the same. So let's go ahead and run this code. So I'm going to cd back out to the base and do cargo run -- example random dark color. And now we see we have a random dark color. You know what would be probably perfect is to make the example use a bright background instead of a dark background like we're doing here. So we have this graphics clear, graphics black here. I'm going to change this to white. And so that's a lot easier to sort of see the contrast of this color. And then because this is a bump, and this is something where I'm not exactly sure when to do this, I'm going to come into the cargo toml. I'm going to bump the version to 0.1. It's a super, well, that's a good question. It's not a patch. This is actually it's a minor update. So I'm adding a new feature. I'm not breaking anything. I'm adding a new feature, so there's new code to use. There's nothing that's breaking, so it's not major. and I'm not changing the functionality, so it's not minor. Semantic versioning is weird at the 0.x range. Yeah, that's true. I could make this 1.0. I'm not, like, it doesn't really matter. We could just pull this into 1.0. I mean, we could also talk about like what that means for us. Since it's just for us to use, I'm almost thinking that we could just like bump this up to 1.0 now. And just say like, hey, this is our first major feature for it. There's nothing, more or less everything less than 1.0. Okay, so I'm just gonna bump this up so that we start caring about semantic versioning, whatever that means for us, or maybe thinking about it. Good morning, Katali. Thinking about it, we don't actually know how to do the bump properly right now. So I'm gonna keep it at less than 0 until we figure out the proper way to bump the versions with other people writing this code. Like, do we want, hey, you wrote the code, you bump the version? Or is it, you wrote the code, I bump the version? I don't know. It's a good question. So I'm gonna keep it like that. And then I'm going to create another commit here. I'm gonna add this in. So let's add in, just create an example. And then also bumped minor version. How have I been liking GGEZ? I really like it. It's really easy to get into, really easy to use, and really fun. Like, just gets out of your way so that you can just do whatever you want to do as opposed to fighting with the language. Major change, breaking, minor change, patch. Yes, those are the 3 numbers. Have I tried giving Piston a try? So I loaded up Piston once and played around with it for about half an hour, and I didn't get anything running in that time. I think that it deserves a longer look before I judge it. So beyond that, I haven't looked at it at all. So I've got that. I'm gonna now push these changes up. And so now we're gonna go back to my fork. I should just go back to my organization. Where is it? It's here it is. So I can see it. It has a little fork symbol on it. Piston is a lost soul. It was the original full-featured game engine. Amethyst is in active development now, though. Oh wait, is Piston no longer in active development? That seems sad. So this is my pull request one. It's forked currently, and so it shows that I'm 3 ahead from the original one over in my Brooks Builds account. So what I can do here is, I mean, I can review this. I'm just going to do new pull request. It's saying this is a little bit weird. The left is where it's going to be going into. So it's going to be going into Brooks Builds, GGEZ, base master. And then my repository is like the current one, master. And I'm going to compare, like, here's what I did. So I bumped the version. I added the example here, and I updated the source library file. You just want some baby mode drawing functions? Like just basic drawing functions? Oh, simulation, okay. So this, I mean, I wrote this, so I'm a little bit, I'm just gonna basically say, yeah, sure, this looks good. I think this will be good. Yeah, I just wrecked. I mean, you can, that the simplest one I have found is the GGEZ one. But we can definitely create those as utilities in here that wrap around, like creating a mesh, for example. I'm going to create the pull request, and we're going to name it. So added in random dark colors. Adding in random dark color function and example. And then I can also reference, so adding random dark color, random dark color function per issue there. And so this GitHub actually now knows that this is linked to that issue. You can write whatever like details you need in here for me or anybody else to like understand what it is that you did, and how to run it. So I'm going to go ahead and create the pull request. So now it's sitting here. It checks to make sure if there's any merge conflicts. And right now that's the only check that we have. I can, like me as a maintainer, I can go and look through this code and even give it feedback. So I could come through here, look through it all, just say, yeah, this is looking good. I can review the changes and just say, you know what? I think this is good. We'll do a thumbs up. We'll approve. Oh, I can't approve it because I'm the owner. So I'll just comment thumbs up. It's gonna look weird that I thumbs up my own one here. And then I'm gonna pull this in. Now I have 3 commits here, which means that there would be 3 commits into the master branch when I merge this in. But what I can do is I can do something called squashing and merges, which it combines those 3 into a single commit. That way, if I need to like undo this, it's just really easy for us to do. So I'm going to squash and merge, and perform that. Usually, I'll just keep these. It combined the issue comments, the commit messages into a single commit message here. And I'm going to confirm squash and merge. And now I have a pull request that's been both done and accepted. And now anybody else is going to need to get pull for the latest master. But we can now see in a master branch, my new code is in here. And so that's going to be the process. Patting myself on the back. Yeah, exactly. All right. So that's kind of like what we're going to do with this. And I'm thinking that during my normal streams, I will just check this periodically, and then I'll be going over and doing pull request acceptance and comments on issues as I just like throughout the month, and hopefully afterwards too. So any thoughts, or if you have any questions, comments? Do I have any to-dos for that project? No, like I think we're going to keep the to-dos into the issues here. So the to-dos that we have, Also, add random dark colors. I'm kind of surprised this didn't. Oh, so it got merged in. So at this point, I can now close the issue. For some reason, I thought it would auto close it. But so the issue is closed now. But these are going to be, these are the current to-dos that we have. And then anybody can add new ones by just adding a new issue. I guess the other thing that I can do is I can deploy this new code. So let's come up to GGEZ. I need to pull down the latest code updates. It is yelling at me. Any examples? No random dark color? Are you sure? So before I would deploy, and this is like theoretically what I would do under normal circumstances, I would pull down the code changes, and then I would do a cargo test. So everything works there, and then a cargo run. Run the new example. That seems to work. This error is just VS Code being crazy because I just pulled everything in all at once. And then I'll just do a cargo cargo publish. That builds everything into a new crates and then publishes it up to crates.io, and we'll see the version bump with that. Do any of you have ideas for like what we could add in, and then I'll just seed this seed the project with a whole bunch of issues that people can work on, that you all can work on. Does it also deploy the examples folder? So it does deploy the examples folder, yes. I don't know how helpful the examples folder is because in your normal main project, it won't ever use that. But the examples folder does get deployed to GitHub. It's definitely in there. Okay, so this got deployed. So if we come up to GGEZ, let's just go back to crates.io. We'll now see that this is the new version. So it's about as easy as npm to upload. I'm really sad. I don't think that there's any kind of like live update, so I can't see new issues as they come in. But what should I add in? Like any thoughts for issues that we can add here? Add a logo for the project? Yeah, let's do that. Add a logo for the project. we need to create a logo for the project so that we look good. I don't even have a logo for my my stream, so like I think we'll have to make something associated with that whenever it comes in. Let's start a conversation on what one would look like. There's that. Mesh utilities like circle, rect. Okay, yeah, so that could be good. So this is something that I'm not really sure would be like should be multiple issues or a single issue. I'm thinking right now maybe maybe multiple issues that different people can work on them and it'll be different functions. So create mesh wrapper for circles. So I'm thinking it would be something like utilities self dot utility dot circle, maybe like create circle, and then we'll just put the coordinates. So like position X, position Y, and then the size. And then, yeah, so like that'd be that. Maybe the color also. And of course, nothing needs to be done right away. We could also have a discussion about how we actually want the interface to be, and we can change it as time goes on to sort of like move towards how we want to use it. I can take a look at Namecheap's logo maker. So what we can do is come back to the issues, and we can add in a comment. And Katali, if you want to, you could actually just put in, look at this. You know what I realize? I should come into here. Add in. Here is a link to the project so you can all actually start looking at that. And add in the comments, that way you can get credit, like people can know that you suggested that. Sprite sheet animations, camera, easing physics collisions, like UI elements, buttons, text, other UI elements you might want, a state machine management, sound, gamepad, keyboard, and mouse. Yeah, all of those things would be really nice to sort of wrap around and make it super easy to use. And so I've got 10 minutes, so I can just sort of create stub issues for these and add them in. So I'm gonna come back up. What was that? Okay. Create mesh wrapper for rectangles. Okay, so with a single command, like, and this will be self.utility dot I could write a physics engine now that I'm reading the nature of codebook. Yes, I could. And we could like implement that into here. So it could be either traits that we add in or maybe objects and like set them to be collidable. I'm not exactly sure what the proper way to do that is. We probably want to have a discussion about like how to actually implement um, the physics engine. I'm thinking traits. So create rect. So this would be like the x. And we could probably just have this be either like a location or like the x, the y, the width, the height, the color. And ECS, what's an ECS? I'm not gonna have time to write all these in. So let's see. Oh, an entity component system such as specs. I'm not familiar with specs. Because I haven't really done very many games on my own. It's mainly like little Ludum Dare games, so I don't know how like properly, like a lot of proper game stuff. So sprite sheet. Okay. So Danny, you have a ton of ideas. With all this drawing stuff, you probably want some distance math and collision functions. Yes, that Danny also mentioned collisions with Cowtel, so I think that would be a good one. So collision detection. I don't know what I don't know what we would want to like put in here, like collision detection between two different like entities. Maybe the issue should just be how do we want to implement a collision detection system. So this will be like a discussion issue. So we could use traits, get added to entity structures, or they could be functions that get references to two entities and determine if they're clipping. So just add that in there. You probably want to know which direction the collision came from too. Yeah, that would probably be good too, because it's going to be different if it's coming from the left and we're looking at like, let's say a Pong paddle on the right-hand side of the screen. Is a math module suggested? I don't know if I remember correctly, but didn't you have to implement some vector math concepts since GGEZ doesn't support it out of the box? I was having to do that, and then I realized that I could use NAlgebra's vector 2 instead, which does implement a bunch of those for me. So I don't. I think that we would just we would probably just mostly do that with vector 2s. But yeah, like originally we were having to write all those ourselves. You really like nCollide 2D. Is that a library that we could use? Oh, it's by the guy that makes an algebra. Oh, interesting. So we could say, I don't think you're in here. Well, maybe it's only looking at like people who have like commented or anything else. So I can't actually find like Dan, like find you, Danny. So Danny, Fritz, suggests looking into nCollide 2D. So there's definitely a lot of ways for us to take this. So there was a bunch of these messages. Unfortunately, I only have this on my iPad. I don't have the ability to copy the messages. So I'm probably going to lose some of the suggestions that you have. So if you could please, if I didn't capture your idea, which I know I didn't capture most of them, add in issues or just like do a comment or send them to me and we'll get them added in. And then the other thing is I want to add in, I'm not sure what the best, choose your first game, decide what you need for that game, and make issues for that. I was almost thinking like, I'll just make it, as I go through and continue on with the nature of code, if there's something that I need, I'll just add an issue for it at that time. And then write the code. Have you set it up to Hacktober? No, I need to do that right now. So I think, let's do new label. Is it just simply Hacktoberfest? Hacktoberfest, capital H. This is a great first issue, especially when going for your t-shirt. And so now I can come in. I think good first issue is also automatically set up here. I can come into issues and just start adding in labels. Can I like, okay, so I can set up these as Hacktoberfest. Quick question, how can you get that t-shirt? So go to, oh, I went away from the website. So go to the hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com. So go to this website and click on start hacking. I've already done it myself, so I'm already logged in. In fact, it's always showing that one pull request that I did for my own thing, that has already been accepted into here as a contribution. All you need to do after you sign up is do 4 pull requests to open source repositories. The pull requests do not need to be accepted. And then at the end of the month, DigitalOcean will send you a form if you got all 4 or more. and it will basically just be asking you for your t-shirt information, your address of where they should ship it. And you can see I got this one last year. Danny, I think you got one as well, right? Did any did anybody else get a t-shirt in like previous years? Like contribute to digital Hacktoberfest? Oh wow, Denny, you have 3 of these t-shirts. That's pretty awesome. I think also we're creating these. These would also probably be good first issues. When you're creating the issues, you can feel free to tag them with Hacktoberfest or good first issues. I'm not tagging these other ones because these are going to be more discussion ones. In fact, do we have a discussion label? Yeah, further information. I don't know. CJ's community app works as an open source project, and so does BBGEZ. So I won't need to find somewhere to contribute. Well, I mean, you found it already. You found 2 places. It should sneak a crab emoji into the code somewhere. Ooh, yeah, you could probably do that. Maybe in like the doc comments. That would be like the perfect place to sneak crab emojis. Does Rust support emojis as variable names? I have no idea. Also, I don't want variable names as Rust emojis. I just I feel that it makes it really hard to read, especially if you pull up the code in like Vim, because then you have no idea what's going on. But like a print line, that could be great. Good code would not be a goal of emoji variable names. Yes, fully agreed. There's a programming language built from emojis. I'm sure there's all sorts of languages that were built like that. One of the last things I want to discuss is if you're brand new to Rust and you still want to contribute, and I should actually add this in to. Is this the correct one? Yeah, Brooks builds. I want to add this into the README here. Contributing. Doesn't matter what level of developer you are, or how much Rust you know. If you want to pair with a community member, please mention this in the comments. And like at least for me during my streams, I'd be very happy to like set up a like a Discord call, or yeah, probably like a Discord call for audio, and then also we can do this live share with VS Code, and that would make it really easy to just like pair with people. And I can pair with you during a live stream. I mean, potentially even not, so I'll just pair with you. I just want to put that out there in case, because I do want like more people to use Rust, more people to play around with GGEZ. It'd be fun to like grow the community in that way. Added pairing message. Is that one dot list a bug? Oh yeah, so this GitHub Markdown is really cool. If we take a look, this is just like 1.1.1.1, but up here it's all like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So GitHub actually takes the 1.1.1 and turns them into a full list, and it doesn't really matter what number I put down there. So it's actually a really cool feature of GitHub Markdown. All right, so here's our new message. All right, well, it is past 8:15, which is the normal time that I end the stream. I'm gonna be getting ready to go out to work. Is there any last questions or thoughts or comments about this? I'm looking forward to working with all of you to get this set up, and then using this during the streams that streams. Danny, you're looking forward to it. All right. Well, definitely I'll see you tomorrow morning, Katali. I do stream normally on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6:45 a.m. Mountain Time for about an hour, hour and a half until 8:15 usually. I'm going to continue doing that. I'm working through Nature of Code book using Rust and GGEZ. I'll be using this library with that, and I'll also be taking a look at pull requests during those streams and sort of accepting them, giving feedback on them, and I might even add in another streaming time for that. I'm just going to sort of play it by ear and see what are like how many pull requests we end up getting. But with that, thank you everybody for stopping by and taking a look at this new project. I'm hoping it's going to be super fun and helpful, and that we all get our t-shirts. And with that, have a great rest of your day, even if it's at the end of your day. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Bye.